Hello, my name is Adeze. You can call me your wellness buddy. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this community, we speak about wellness and life that is rooted in God and love. The focus is to help you live a life of wellness in abundance as a multi-relational being. You could be a mother, a father, you're in relationship with your dog, your friend, your family, even yourself. And that's what this is about, to help you be rooted in love and God and express who you should be fully. If today's topic resonates with you, like, share, comment, and do well to subscribe. And don't forget to share with someone who could benefit from this. Hello, wellness buddies. Welcome to this edition of our wellness series. And today I have two beautiful moms with me who look very different, and yet they're so similar. I have known Buki now for so many years. She's fondly called Shalom, so you might hear me call her Shalom because that's all I'm used to. But she's Buki, Nova, and obviously I have Joe with me. I've known these ladies for over a decade. And even though I don't see you all the time and we don't speak all the time, I feel like I'm somewhat part of your lives because every time you let me in, you just give me so much. Like, I'm up to date. I know what's going on. So I want to thank you for that privilege. And why I invited you both for this motherhood series or wellness in motherhood is you're both so special and so good at this. So normally when you do like a podcast or recording, people expect you to come with the experts. But for me, you are experts. And we kind of overemphasize this thing of experts. We don't really have expert mothers. A good mother is one who can mother her child. And my mom will say this thing in the Nigerian dialect. She'll say, "Pikin no dey pass mama," meaning a child does not go beyond the mother. Like, the mother always has everything it takes. Like, God gives you everything you need to be a mother to your children. I'm hearing that odd sound again, but it's fine. Just have to walk through it. So today I'm going to be asking these ladies questions because they are very good at eating well, or at least seeking to do so. Shalom has her own, she says it's not a farm. I like to call it a farm, but she says it's a garden. A rich, she's not rich and all that, so they want to call it, but yeah, it's a garden. She's renting a garden. And then Joe is doing so well. This lipstick, Joe, I got it from Joe because she's tropical skincare. I mean, you look after your skin, you look after your body with everything. But I'm going to let you both introduce yourselves. And so I'll start with Joe. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey as a mom, for food in that context, just because we're talking about wellness.
Hi, Daisy. Thank you for inviting me to come and speak. Like you said, I am by no means an expert at all, but I can share with you what I do for me and my family. So I'm 46 years old and I am a wife to Nigel, been married for 13 years this year, and a mum to two boys who are 8 and 11 on Wednesday. We live in Belfast in Northern Ireland. We've been here for 4.5 years now. My background is a professional, is in nursing and social work. I work in sexual health at the moment in the hospital, which is great. And I'm also a Christian, so I'm a part of a very vibrant church community. So I love food. I have always loved food ever since I can remember. And I think that a lot of that began when I was a child. So my parents always made sure that we ate home-cooked food. My dad loved cooking and would always cook home-cooked meals for us. We'd sit around a table as a family and really enjoy that kind of social interaction. We'd have Sunday lunch together and evening meals together. And I think that when we had our children, I wanted that to be a big part of our lives too. And so making sure that I feed the boys and myself and my husband home-cooked foods that nourish their bodies, and make meal times a priority, really, that we all sit down to eat together as much as we can. Because I don't know, I was talking to my manager recently and she said that she eats to live. She can forget to eat. I live to eat. literally live to eat. I haven't even finished. Yeah, I haven't even finished one meal, and I'm thinking about the next meal, straight away. So I think connections that are built when sharing food, it can be really powerful. And I think that food is meant to not only kind of sustain us and nourish us, but it's meant to fulfill us in other ways as well, which it's supposed to be pleasurable and enjoyable and offer some sort of social connection. We see that through history. We see that in the Bible, don't we? Where people come together and they eat food together and they share a meal, they break bread together. So I just think it strengthens communities. It fosters this great sense of togetherness. And also I use food as a way to show people that I love them and care for them. And, I love hosting people and having people to stay in our home or come over for meals. And food is always a big kind of part in that. So, yeah, I suppose that's just a little bit about me and my background, and where I'm at the moment.
Oh, thank you so much, Joe. And yes, Joe is such a wonderful host. My goodness. Like Joe would invite anyone and everyone to our house, and that's one thing I admire about you. You would be happy for it. I hardly invite people to my home, not because I don't like hosting, but when I think about the mental stress and the emotional and then the physical side of things, I just call you on the phone and we have a good catch up. but you do it so well, and I really admire that about you. And thank you. I was at yours, but I'll talk about that later. How she hosted me so well in Northern Ireland. Okay, Shalom, Buki, is your turn.
So I'm a mom of four kids from 14 to 3. Um, Born and raised in Nigeria. I moved to Canada how many years ago now? I think 6 years ago, I think. Um, so for me, I basically grew up somewhere else, right? And then living another life in an entirely different climate and people and food and culture and stuff like that. So huge change for me in the food landscape, because there's just the way you eat and easy access to the things that you know how to eat, and then you move into another place and it's you're standing in the store and you're looking for familiar stuff or substitute, as people call it, right? So for me, huge move, and I guess it made me a bit more conscious about what I want to put on the table in my home, because it wasn't just a given that what all the things that I was used to eating that I was going to find, right? Yeah, so big move for me there. I've For me, I was brought up, to eat like food I cooked. Food is usually just cooked from scratch. That's like a given for most Nigerian homes. The idea of a woman not cooking or like eating out, and it's very new. And probably maybe 10 years. When certain companies moved into like fast food wasn't a part of the culture. It's not part of it's luxury. In case you go like special days, special occasions, or something is happening in church, or you're having a party and then you order stuff. But normally, like you just eat food in the house, like it's home cooked meal. So the idea that maybe someone like a mother would not cook, or like some dads don't cook, a lot of dads don't cook, but someone in the house has cooking down to the T daily. You can always count on it. So for me, it's the only way to be, right? That's how I was trained to be. Cooked food, breakfast, things like cereal, like breakfast cereal, fast, um, assembling food, right? These are not things that are typical how I grew up. Like food is always cooked, hot meals, like a meals. Food is usually not eaten cold, except it's like snacks, right? So for me, it's learning to come here and the kids are going to school and I'm having to pack lunch. And I'm wondering what people are packing. I remember watching tons of videos or going to the store and looking for flasks and not just those lunch boxes, because I'm thinking food should be hot. Like, what are you packing in? How are you sending kids to school without having to cook those meals? So it was such a huge and I still ended up sending them maybe like 3 to 4 days out of the 5 with hot meals, because that's just all I know, to cook things from scratch. So for me, the journey is my journey is the journey of most people like me, to be honest. And I've not really embraced. I've not been extremely flexible in like embracing everything else that has come where I live. I still cook meals. My day will still start with cooking breakfast and lunch together. Sometimes in the mornings if I have to walk out of the house. Um, and like Joe as well, I love to host. I love to find reasons to have our friends in the house and to just whip up a big meal. And sometimes friends like me who also love to cook will bring stuff over and we just really share, right? And people go home. I also like to send people home with extra food as well. So it's how my mom was, it's how she still is, it's how our mother was. So I'm just basically, I guess, living out the lives of the women before me and just sort of following in your footsteps. Yeah.
Yeah, great, thank you. But I'm just gonna ask you, just because you miss all those parts, what do you do apart from being a
I'm in project management. So I work full time. My husband works full time. But thanks to COVID, I work, I would say 85% of the time. I just go to the office once a week now. My husband works 100% from home. And now we homeschool, which is a huge undertaking. Like we just started doing that this school year. So it was a huge, big. We're still in that journey, trying to find ourselves with that and trying to accommodate both. So that's why I said, sometimes in the morning I'm cooking lunch and breakfast at the same time because I'm probably in meetings and I just want the kids to be able to go in and sort themselves out if I'm not, whatever. So yeah, so full-time work, full-time mom, yeah, and full-time educator, I would say.
You both sound like experts to me from your introduction of yourself because you're like you're both on the spectrum if there's anything like that when it comes to motherhood. Because how do you, like, I know Joe definitely bakes things like cooks from scratch, and
Yeah.
then yes, you might take your kids to school, but then on top of full-time work, everything, you're homeschooling, that's like madness. But let's
Mhm.
just move on. So Joe, I remember my last visit to yours. Like I said, you made us ice cream, and then in your ice cream maker, then you made fresh bread, and you made Ozora, my daughter, who would never eat brown bread. I didn't tell you that, but she never eats brown bread. And she was like, "It's so good, mom, it's so good." She loved it because you did like 50-50, the brown and the white mixed together, and that bread was amazing. And Joe could give us tips for to make sandwiches on the point Shalom made earlier.
I
But
like that. I like that.
and she makes her sandwiches, not those overly processed hams we find out there. She's
Yeah.
sliced herself from the meat. I mean, Joe, come on, you're an expert. But on a more serious note, so all this, like, I would say for some people listening, these are like really high standards. Even though these should be normal things, we know that there is a shift out there for some reasons. No more cooking. Everyone is being as fast as possible.
Mhm.
However, do you ever deal with any like mom shame or guilt or anything that could come along with not being able to do those things? That would be me assuming that you have days where you're not cooking things from scratch and you're not meeting all your good standards.
Yeah, no, all the time. I think that like life's changed so much, hasn't it, in the last, I don't know, 50 years, 40 years, whatever, from our grandparents' time living I'm English, where women didn't work, they were at home, and so they had the time to bake their bread, bake their cakes, cook meals from scratch, all of the things because they were at home. That was their full-time job. Whereas I work 30 something hours a week and also do all the cooking and things like that. So it's I think for me, the older I get, the more I learn to give myself a break, and not to be so hard on myself, because I think that if I can do my best like 80% of the time, then that's good enough. And sometimes good enough is just that, it is good enough. And I definitely go through phases where I'm more motivated than at other times. Everybody does, don't they? Where sometimes I'll be doing all the things, and I've got huge capacity to do all the things and make all the things from scratch, and I've got the meals planned out and I'm switched on with kind of planning. And then other phases, I just cannot be bothered at all. I'm completely demotivated. But I think that the closer I get to the age of 50, the more I am focusing on simplicity. And I found that that's a really key kind of tool in my toolbox, is don't overcomplicate things. I'm a massive, that's one of my downfalls, I suppose, overcomplicating things. And then I put so much pressure on myself, and I'm trying to do all of the things. And actually, the thing that suffers the most when I do that is relationship. So it'll be the relationship with the kids and with my husband mostly, because I'm trying to do all the things. My heart is right. My intentions are good. I want to cook meals from scratch. I want to do all of the things and make sure everybody's, healthy and well looked after. But in doing that, my interactions with them suffer, because I'm stressed or whatever. So I think I'm focusing on simplicity. Sometimes, to save my sanity, buying a shop bought jar of pasta sauce is fine, so long as I'm not doing that every day of the week. Sometimes it's okay to not make pizza from scratch. I'll buy a pizza from the shop. That's okay, if we're doing a junk food day. But I think mostly I really thrive on order, and if there's chaos, then I don't do so well. So mostly I really enjoy that kind of meal planning, cooking in advance, tracking my macros and what I'm eating. But for somebody else, that would be their idea of absolute hell, probably, being that organized. So yes, I do sometimes struggle because I do have high standards, but yeah, I'm trying to focus more nowadays on simplicity. I don't always get that right.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, that's great for someone else to hear, because when you did your introductions, people might think, "Ooh, she's perfect. Well, she has all the time in the world, or she's just that kind of person." That's what we do. I sit with people in coaching. I remember this particular lady. She was like, "Well, I'm just not that kind of person. That's just not how I am." But we tell ourselves this narrative. But the thing is, God created us to eat well. So we have the innate ability to, if we choose to. So it's not like something, you do, or planning and all of those things you said, you're innately able to do them. However, there is something called grace and compassion on yourself, like God expects us to, and knowing when to, simplify the meals, buy things, not cooking from scratch, even knowing the shops that sell better products,
Yeah.
that's also something good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think as well. I think that I had to, like, God gave me a bit of a kick up the backside a while ago when I was trying to do all of the things and I would stress myself out about it. But He kind of showed me that whilst some of that was coming from a good place, actually some of that was coming from a place of pride. And it wasn't a good motive. It was because I wanted to be seen to be this superwoman who was able to do all of the things for all of the people all of the time. And that wasn't coming from a good heart, So yeah, I have to always be kind of mindful of that.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's so important. That loving as unto the Lord, doing it with love. If it's not with love, what's the point of it? And there's no
What's the
pride in.
point?
I mean, there's no pride in love. Love is selfless, but at the end of the day, it's not to, at the back of that, get some form of praise. So
Yeah.
that selflessness should be powered by love. Wow, thanks for sharing that. So, Buki, you're renting a garden in Canada. You mentioned earlier how you recently emigrated, so in the last 6 years or so. I mean, for me, that's just out of this world. Like, I eat healthy as much as I can. Obviously, I try to promote wellness. That's what I try to do all the time. I see wellness in everything. But I've not gotten to that stage where I'll have like a garden and plant my own foods. But you're there, you're like, the icon. The reason I'm
Mm.
telling you I find that fascinating is I see your Instagram, and I always like, I'm so fascinated how you would plant like peppers, and it's so full of things. And sometimes like, is she selling it or is this for her home? This is madness. It's a lot of so that really fascinates me. But my question to you is, why do you grow your own food? Because that's not what the average Canadian will be doing, right? It's not a Canada thing. Neither is it a Nigerian thing. Because I know, you know, at least Nigerians your age group, maybe our grandparents. So
Yeah.
tell me, why are you growing your own food? Why are you doing that? And homeschooling and like everything.
Yeah, before I answer that question, I'm just going to say something about the question you just asked, Joe, because thinking back now, a couple of minutes, I think people might, or other women, or even men, might look at us and say, hey, these guys are perfect. So, full disclosure, we have pizza times at home, ice cream, as in all of that. Like, I think it was last week, my husband came home with I can't remember again the name of this company, but he came home with like stuff, chicken, everything, right? I had some, everybody had some. Actually, it ended up being dinner because I was on that day, I think it was a Thursday or Wednesday, I'd had it and I just didn't have the energy to do any cooking. So he put the girls in the car and they went and they got stuff and we all ate, right? I didn't feel guilty because it's just so for me it's about ratios, right? And about the awareness of what is good and what is optimal, what isn't optimal. So it's not 100% all food, all everything we eat in the house is home cooked and all of that. That I don't. Maybe some people can do that, but in my own reality, it's just not possible. So sometimes we order food. When we order food, I like to order things that I like to order Indian food because they also cook. It's a lot of actual home meals rather than do pizza. And sometimes the kids say, "Oh, we actually really want pizza today." I let them have it. So I'm hoping that we're not putting out this image of women that have extraordinary powers or whatever, and we're doing everything perfect all the time. I have the issue of actually putting the kids and what they eat. I found out recently that I wasn't actually eating as many fruits as my kids were eating because I just keep pushing them, go do this, go do this. And then I started to think to myself that I'm actually not eating as healthy as my kids are eating. So
Mm,
we're not, so because in trying to get all of that, there are times that we also need to be checked.
mhm,
Like saying God was check. I'm checking myself. I'm trying to account for the things I'm also eating. Am I doing as well as am I exercising? Am I holding on to a lot of weight? I'm holding on to more weight than I want to because you're not moving around as well. So not perfect here, right? Just wanted to put that out there so nobody's under pressure because social media
Yeah.
does. I don't want to be guilty of that. So coming back to farming or gardening, it's strictly hobby, I would say. Um, it's something that I love to do. Some people, I don't know, everybody I guess have things that they love to do that they really like to do. Farming is that to me. I just need to put these hands in. I just need to do it. So it's more of that. But I think that it came from my mom. The more I think about it, because she was also like that. Lagos doesn't have. So we used to live in. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and it's I guess not. I guess I know it's one of the most populated cities in the world. There are 22 million or 22 million people in Lagos. So it's not a place where you would live and have garden space or green. Lagos is not green at all, right? It's think about New York City or London, whatever. But my mom still managed to find space. She raises chickens, eggs, and all of that. My son still thinks about the eggs that he eats, like fresh eggs. And she's like, "Mommy, why is it that the eggs we eat don't taste like grandma's own and all of that?" So
mhm,
she's very passionate about that, and I guess I picked that from her. wanted to grow my own food. I delved into farming business actually before we moved, but I couldn't sustain that. It was just too hard. Too hard because you can't. I couldn't do the full time thing and still drive 1 hour, and still monitor people and get them to do things properly and turn a profit. So that didn't work out. So I liked it as that much that I was going to do had greenhouses and stuff, but was shut down at some point. So coming to Canada for me, it's my idea of um, luxury living, right? It's looking out my window and just seeing green, right? And stepping out into lush grass and wanting to cook and just going outside and cutting off stuff and putting it in the pot and cooking it. That's my idea of luxury. It's not I don't know what people have different ideas of where they want to live and how, whatever. But for me, that's my idea of luxury. We're not in that place now where we still live in the suburban area, proper suburban area. I don't have a big garden. Um, so for that reason, I have a plot in a big farm where I grow food for the year. So I think about, okay, what are the things I use a lot of, right, over the year, and what are the things I can preserve before the next growing season. So that's sort of how I've prioritized that in my head. So I go hard on things like peppers, tomatoes, like things that show up in the plates in almost every meal. Um,
Mhm.
so that was the idea. So I just go in and grow a lot of that, all the veggies, the Nigerian veggies that I can't find here. When as far as growing those ones as well, grow a lot of them, blanch them and put them up in the freezer. And so right now I just pick stuff. I think that's the other tip that you even sometimes it's not you growing them, but there's seasons where things are really cheap. It's summer and fall, you get a lot of these things that are cheap because that's when everybody's able to grow. You can buy them and process them a little bit and have them in your freezer or whichever way you're learning to process. And you can access them year round. So for me, that's sort of so I'm not farming, just gardening like most people. I'm not doing it at home because I don't live where I have a lot of space. So 10 minutes from me, I just drive there and I do my thing. I'm taking a break this year, actually, um, from
Okay.
doing that. It's just too much because now I'm homeschooling. That time I wasn't homeschooling, so
Yeah,
taking,
yeah.
taking a break from doing that outside the house. So yeah,
Oh, well done. Yeah. You I think maybe that sound, if we try and close the tabs, Shalom, maybe some of your tabs, because you're using a laptop, right?
there's nothing in my background.
Everything is closed. I don't know what that sound is. Anyway, let's not get distracted. But thank you for sharing that. So it's a hobby, and now you're letting go of that hobby. Oh, the sacrifice of motherhood.
I'm going to have things growing in bags in my space.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but it won't just be at the scale. I actually still have stuff in
All
my
right.
freezer. I think
All
I'm
right,
going
that's
to
cool.
exhaust what I had from last season, so I'm just gonna keep it that way. Yep.
Mm. Yeah, there's something so
Ouch, I'm
special,
really
isn't
enough
there,
to be your
about
neighbor. Oh my God.
Joe
Yeah,
was saying
please go
something.
ahead,
no,
Joe.
I was just going to say there is something so special about growing something and going out and just cutting it off and bringing it back in, and it's as fresh can be. Like, I don't grow things. I've got some rhubarb outside and some strawberries, and that's it. But like my parents, when they lived in the south of France, they had a huge allotment, and in the summer months, everything that they ate, vegetable wise, was fresh from the
Yeah.
allotment, and it was in their garden. They had a big garden, and it was just so lovely, like sun drenched south of France, kind of
Mhm.
beautiful produce. And there is, I mean, it's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's good to hear that you've given yourself grace as well in that. Do you know,
Yeah.
like, oh, we can't quite do it this year, but there's always another year, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I am so pleased you share that because a lot of people aspire to grow things for themselves because we've lost that trust. And when you watch some videos these days, like I remember watching a reel, and the man tried to eat an apple, then he thought about the chemical. He couldn't eat basically. He tried to eat different things, and every time he tried, he remembered something that was wrong with that thing. Either the soil was not being, they didn't use the right what do you call them?
Pesticides and stuff,
Yes,
herbicides.
yes, or they didn't use the right thing, or the food is highly processed or it's fake. So at the end of the day, I think the guy just laid down hungry because everything. But yes, he was exaggerating and all of that. But we do, as Christians, there is that thing that bridges the gap, the prayer. When you bless your food, you trust that what's going into you. You can't control everything. However, someone planting their own food is things we should all aspire to, because this is as natural as it gets, right? Especially like as you get older, if you can do that, then why not? Because you're not really working full time, you're not in your hustle mode. But for younger moms who are between 0 to 12, you might not necessarily be able to farm, you might not have that hobby. However, being well is something that we owe ourselves, we owe it to our children, and I wouldn't say you owe it to God. However, that's basically it, because you're giving this life, and what you eat will determine a lot of the outcome of your life. If you're
Yeah.
able to fulfill your purpose, for example, if you're always like having headaches and always drowsy because of one illness or the other, that is poor food induced. People get ill, but I'm talking about dietary related health issues, fluctuations in your hormones or diabetes or things like that could happen to you, and it's because you eat crap. I like when you mentioned the fruits parts. Honestly, every time I've asked a mom if they eat well, you won't believe it. The answer I get is, oh yeah, I eat quite well. I eat quite well. It's either they're trying to impress me or they don't know what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
But people say they eat quite well until you ask the next question. So how many fruits do you get to eat in a day? The last time I ate fruit was 3 days ago. Like, you're not eating well. And then when you break it down again and you say, like I tell my kids, I'm like, the food is not complete without the greens. They're tired of hearing that now. Yeah, the food is not complete without the greens. Like, because if there's no greens, you're eating well because you think, oh, I've had for a Nigerian jollof rice and chicken, I had small, and then you put like 5 peas. That's why I can't stand Chinese takeaway. They put like 5 or 6 peas in the rice.
Yeah.
And so, stuff like that, you think, but you ate healthy because you saw your 5 peas and you saw your rice and you saw your chicken. But being well, it's not that complex. It's all about what's in the plates. How was the proportion of what's in the plates? But yeah, I'll come back to that. So back to you, Joe. So there will be young moms listening to this, and most likely, I believe the people who are likely to listen to this more will be young moms, curious, like, okay, what are they going to say? Because we all know that when we're first-time moms, all the high standards you probably set, as the second one comes, things start to dip a bit.
Yeah.
And then you find a baseline that works. Well,
Yeah.
definitely. So if a younger mom is watching this and thinking, I'm trying to win, my kids are really young, what are the tips you can share for someone who's winning their child, like from breast to soft food or good food, or from bottle feeding to eating meals?
Yeah, I think so. We did kind of the baby-led weaning, which I think a lot of people seem to feel like that's a new thing, but I think it's the natural kind of thing to do. We wanted our children to eat the same food that we ate. Like, we didn't want to be giving them purees and mush and kind of cooking them or making them something different. So they had what we had, just in different, maybe slightly different forms or whatever. But I think the important thing for babies as they're weaning is that their nutritional intake isn't going to be coming from their food. Like, that's not the important thing with weaning, is it? The important thing for the first kind of 6 months of weaning is them kind of exploring and getting curious with textures and tastes and how things feel in their mouths and the process of chewing and swallowing and all of those things. It's not about necessarily how many calories they're putting into their bodies, because they're getting that from their milk, whether that's breast milk or bottle milk. And I think it's about having fun and being messy. And I think that would be my encouragement, I suppose, to mums who are just about to start their weaning journey is, just have fun with it. Let your kids get food all over the floor and all over themselves. And, just, I think I had to really chill out and relax a bit when the kids started weaning, because it's an adventure for them to try these new things. So yeah, I just made them whatever we were eating, and foods as close to their natural state as possible to start with, avocado in fingers, bananas in fingers, all of those kinds of things. And I also wanted them to kind of experience like a whole kind of range of different flavors and tastes and textures, and expose them to those things. And I think what you were saying before, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it just made me think about, you were talking about wellness and the absence of illness in people can be very dependent on what they eat. And I was just thinking that actually, my children are very rarely poorly. I think one of them might have had to take antibiotics once, thank God. But and I know that that's not always because of nutrition, but I think they have both got very good immune systems. And I think probably their gut microbiome is very diverse. And I think that some of that is to do with genetics, but I think some of that also is to do with the fact that they eat such a varied range, and they have done since they were weaning, of different things. So I think, I suppose that's been an important factor too. So yeah, what we eat, they eat, and I don't cook them anything different. And I think also, kind of as they got older, that's kind of been a thread that's followed through, is that no, this is what we're having for dinner, and if you don't like that, then oh well, I'm not cooking you something different. That is dinner. You can eat it or you can leave it, but I'm not going to be making you something different. Yeah,
thank you. Do you know what you've just said summarizes what if someone was to come to me and pay me, I'll say exactly the same thing. But I can assure you they would live with a lot of disappointments. And I cannot emphasize and this is the issue I get with clients, they expect you to give them something really complex. Tell me what to do. And you're like, oh, it's just for the kids to explore. And that does not seem to make sense. So if someone is listening, what Joe has said is basically it. I can add more layers to it depending on, the specifics of your life. But really, that's it. These kids are exploring. I met this South African lady a few years ago, and she brought out this puree and was feeding her child. Then I wasn't a registered nutritionist, so I was just talking as a regular mom and African mom as well, raising a child in the UK. So I said, why are you giving your child puree? She's like, oh, African foods is so hard. I worry he won't be able to swallow. And I remember just thinking, I wish they could meet Joe, because I knew Joe from church. And, Joe is English and she's not giving her kids puree. Do you see what I mean?
They might have had some puree every now and again for convenience, maybe a pouch here or there. But yeah, I see it. Yeah.
So she was giving, she was winning this child with puree and all English food. And you're here telling me about gut microbiome, giving a range. Because I know when I come to yours, there would be you cook with a lot of spices and herbs and all of that. So it's really interesting that you're saying I let them, lead it. And that's what moms should do. But then if you're a working mom and you think that's almost impossible for me, maybe you're going back to work earlier than 6 months, right? It's still, sorry, earlier than a year, because some people start work maybe after 6 months. It's still the same thing. Even nurseries, that's still what they should do. The
Yeah.
baby gets most nutrients from milk. Milk
Yeah.
is still the main source. And I think people can't understand it. And they sometimes feed the baby so much, maybe custard at night so the baby can sleep well. I'm
Mm,
not judging. But at the end of the day, the main nutrients is from the milk.
yeah.
And that
Yeah.
weaning stage is all about exploration and
Yeah.
adventure. And when someone tells me they've got a child who is picky, I always ask from the beginning.
Mm, mm,
From the beginning, that's where the issue was.
yeah.
And yet,
Yeah.
she doesn't like that. My daughter at the moment, she's 5. She won't eat peas. She only eats cucumber. She's going through a personality disorder thing. That's what not mental health, but like she wants to choose for the sake of choosing. So I don't like peas, I don't like carrots, I don't like this, but I like cucumber. Well, if that's what you like, but you will never catch me saying, no, you must eat that, or
Yeah.
this child does not like it, because what we say about them, they hear it like, oh, he doesn't eat that. No, he does.
Yes.
Sometimes I do the reverse psychology thing and say, he's not eating it yet, when he's more mature, and they want to be mature. So I've seen my daughter, and once in a while she's like, oh, I'm a bit more grown up now, so I'm just gonna try that. But yeah,
Tricks of the trade.
yes, you got okay.
Brilliant.
So
I think the only thing that can I just add one thing that I forgot to say?
yeah,
The only other thing that I would say is that I didn't add salt. So whilst I would, just with the weaning thing, there were things that I did differently. They didn't just eat what we were eating. I would not add salt. I would not add things that I knew could be a problem for a small baby. Do you know? Yeah.
yeah, take it out. That's a key
Yeah.
one. That's what I do, because my salt and things I put them at the end. So when I
Yes.
wean my kids, I take theirs out. So I'm not cooking different, it's still the same food,
Mhm.
and I take it out. But if I'm using a low amount, depends on what I'm cooking, I could still give them. So yeah.
Yes.
Well, anyway, thanks for sharing that. Shalom, you weaned your first 2 or 3
Three.
kids in
First
Nigeria,
three. Yeah.
and you had, so you've got the best of both worlds, I would say.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, was it easier to win in Nigeria, or is it easier in Canada, because you're in Canada? And what's your biggest lesson? I guess it's a lot of questions, but you can sort of put it all together.
Yeah. It's hard to compare, right? Because I'm not comparing apples and apples, right? In Nigeria, a community raises your kids. So
Mm.
I had my mom, and that I had my mom. We had, they had nannies and stuff. So because you go out of the house to work, so we had help. So it was sort of easier to do a lot of things, or to implement, a bit more things um, than it was. Okay, I would say I was living in a different context, so to speak. So for the first 3 kids, I wasn't even as educated as I think I was, or my education was sort of growing. You do what everybody does. What everybody does is, oh, they go from milk, and then from bottled milk to cereal, like Cerelac and stuff, and then you start to give them they start to eat out of your plate. Right? That was the process until they get their own plate, and then they start to eat like grown up food and stuff. So for me, my first was extremely still rigid with meals. Like he likes one, and that's it. So it was breast milk or milk in the bottle, and then nothing else, and then pap. So pap is like what would I call it? Like multi-grain fermented cereal that you cook or make with hot water, and it has the consistency of regular cereals, right? So I didn't even realize that the kids didn't need that. Like if you're doing the pap thing, I didn't need to buy the cereal. So I did what every other mom did. We did the pap, we did the cereal, and all of that for him. And we had to force him, like every single time we're introducing something new. It was like a week of battling with him. Like I'll take out the whole weekend. I will not give him anything. He would go on his little hunger strike because he's just not going to eat anything else apart from so introducing meals, new things after one after the other was like a battle for him. But my mom helped with some of those things because they just did what a lot of grandparents do. They eat in and he comes around them and they just put stuff in his mouth, right? So
Mm.
this up to, and then his school he was in to would also at some point they would say, "Okay, if you want your kids to learn how to eat more food, stop bringing the things he eats from home." So we paid for meals in school, and magically, so for the first two, that was how they got introduced to more food. It was my parents. It was because we weren't really at home most of the times. We're out in the morning, back late at night. Sometimes they're already in their pajamas by the time we get back in. So it's not the optimal way to live, but it was what it was, right? So, but for the last one that we had here, I decided but I was now more, I had more understanding that okay, I didn't he actually basically does not need to go through that cereal phase, right? He can go from milk to just eating from our plates, right? So it's a case of oh, I'm eating, I put him on my lap and he's tasting whatever it is I'm eating straight like that. No, I tried the whole, puree thing. He just didn't like it. I puree did, all that stuff in the pouch, he just was not that kind of child. Is if you're putting something in your mouth, I'm going to put it in my mouth too. My third is like that as well. Like if anything is going in your mouth, they're going to eat it. They eat spice too, like spicy stuff. They would try it. So we skipped that cereal stage, so to speak. I think the most I did for him for convenience again was I would do sprouted oats. I would cook it and blend it down with milk and all of that. So times that he probably wasn't interested in whatever we're eating or whatever we had that, I would warm that. I would make it in bulk and I would warm that for him, warm milk, and he's fine, for a couple of hours until the next meal. So um back to what Joe said, I think that I'm not sure where this idea came from that babies should have a different meal. Because I think about like maybe our grandparents, it was just what they did. Like there was no special baby food, so to speak. It was they had milk, and while they were still breastfeeding, taking milk from the bottle, they experimented with whatever the adults around them, usually their parents or grandparents, were giving them, and they just went straight into eating meals, right? So for me, if I would advise a young mom today, is not that those periods are bad and all of that, but de-emphasize that it's not you don't have to your child does not have to go through a period phase, right? You can just start to introduce stuff, put your finger in whatever food you put and just let them have a taste of it and see how, what it is that they like.
Thank you.
And for me again, like I've also learned, I heard from someone much older, I can't even remember when, and she says that if you say that your child is picky, your child is ultimately picking based on the options that are available to them. You go to the store, you buy those things, you purchase those things, and they're picking based on what you're putting in front of them. The choices are based on the options that you've chosen. So if the options they have are all healthy, good stuff, they are picking whatever it is. They're still limited to healthy stuff. But sometimes we get frustrated, and maybe other moms give us advice. Ah, gee, have you tried that? Have you tried that? Oh, my baby likes that. And you go into the store, you bring it home, so you keep bringing stuff into the house that maybe you are not even eating and nobody else in the house is eating. You're making the children feel that they can have their own meal as
Mm.
long as they can hold their ground, right? That they will have whatever it is they like. That you're going to go out and bring something else that is specifically for them.
Mm.
So that's the thing that I learned along the way, that not making the children feel that they have a special status, so to speak, when it comes to meals, that whatever the adults are eating is something that they are not quite ready to eat yet, and they can eat something different.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, makes them feel, and even when they've grown out of that stage, they still continue to insist on
Mm.
or want something that is outside of what you're eating. Yes, children will go through, like you're saying nowadays, if children will go through phases where they like something and they don't like another and all of that. What I found with my 14-year-old, who's the most picky of all of them, who I also found I was sort of coaching, mentoring the other ones who were open. And I saw that the choices even for the older ones were beginning to narrow. Like they weren't liking more things, and the things they were not liking were the things that he didn't like as well. Because he'll say things like, "Oh, that's yucky" or something like that.
Mhm.
So basically, I had to work on that and say, "Hey, you now that he's older, like you don't like something, keep your opinions to yourself." And
Mhm.
I'm also not the mom that would give options. Like Joe was saying, if this is what we're having for dinner, that's what we're having for dinner. Like if you don't want that, you're going to bed hungry. Like that's okay. You're
Mhm.
10, 11, you're 12, you're 14, you can do that. That's not maybe even good for your health. So they all know. Um, my 14-year-old doesn't like eggs. He likes stewed eggs, but he doesn't like boiled eggs or whatever. It's just weird how he is with eggs, right? And I would say if we're going to do eggs and bread and other sausages or whatever, you're gonna do the eggs first, right? If you don't do the eggs, you don't touch anything else on your plate, right? It might take him 30 minutes to go down with the eggs, but he still eats it because I know that the window to insist on certain things is fast, diminishing for me because of his age. So I'm still making sure that, like, as we cook, nobody has a special thing they don't eat, right? They will struggle, but they still eat because I know that time is going to come when I can't do that anymore. I can't force them that, oh, whatever. But I'm finding that increasingly, the pickiest of them is becoming open to things that he will say that he doesn't like. And he'll be like, oh, wow, it actually doesn't taste that bad. Why did I think it was bad? So if you
Yeah.
stop putting those options in front of your kids, that's what I'm learning.
Yes.
Because they say they don't like something. It's likely a fake. There were many things I didn't eat. I was the pickiest child too for me growing up. And now you will not believe that I'm the one who, will cook veggies and all of that and eat a full bowl of vegetable soup, right? That was not till I was maybe like 10 or 11. I would not even I will not go near anything like that. So for me, I'm learning that whatever it is the kids don't like now, don't stop cooking those in the house because they don't like it. Because they probably will get over that phase. And it's wise to keep those options available to them so they don't go into adulthood with a very narrow spectrum of
Yeah.
meals that they
Yeah.
need.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
thank you so much. That's a lot to to unpack there, but I'm not going to, because of time, I'm going to just leave that there. However, I'll say this is what I've learned over the years is when they say no sugar, they mean maybe they use sweeteners.
Mhm.
And when they say reduce fats, they probably put more sugar to retain the taste. And so over time, and then you see an exercise advert, the person is doing fitness, then they drink a bottle of Coke to cool down. And and the Coke has zero sugar, and then this puree as well and children's yogurts fall in similar category.
Yep.
They said no preservatives, no what, like, so how does it stay in the shelf? There's got to be something, some form of chemical, something, either salt or sugar, or you dried it up. And so without going into the complexities of dried fruits and all the other stuff, I just want to keep this as basic as possible. The point is, God created food, and I think Joe can relate with this so well because you commented on one post. You're like, yes, we just need to eat what God created for food. It's that simple.
Yep.
Just as close to nature as possible. And that's what is going to build your immune system.
Mhm.
It's like when something goes into the body is like, this is not what I was created to accept. It's just natural. It's very simple. So it's not that healthy living is not complex. It's like I give my body what my body was designed to accept. So when you think about your children, yes, they might go through phases where they like this, they don't like this, it's too sour, it's too spicy, or it's not spicy. You find even in African homes, they don't give their children spice because every time they've ever cooked spice, meanwhile, they use the adults' spice
Level,
portion, which is
spices.
first of all
So
unrealistic because that's part of winning. They forget that the spice is also, you put it in layers. Nobody starts eating spice like full blown, so that's also the side. So people do not know that winning means introduction slowly and just observe. And so there's another backlash, I guess, that, oh, but they end up wasting the food. And then moms then eat the extra food and then get bigger. Trying to save the earth. Yeah, there was one day I told myself I will no longer eat my children's leftovers. It's something I had to decide because I just knew I started gaining so much weight, and I knew the weight wasn't because of lack of exercise. I knew it was the leftovers. I knew it was.
True, so true. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so if your child decides not to eat the peas and corn, it's fine. If you want to really preserve the earth, don't put it straight into the bin. Put it in a bag. There are special food bins. If your conscience is going to tell you, oh, you're wasting food, that thing can be, everything God created has the ability to be recycled.
Yeah.
So
Do you know?
just pull it. Yeah, please go on.
No, I was
Interrupt.
just going to say that's a really good point. So one of the things that I do, and there is no shame in this at all. Part of me would have felt a bit of shame in admitting this before, but for example, if like today we had pork chops for Sunday lunch with potatoes and beans, and two of my children didn't finish their pork chops. I'm not throwing that away. I'm going to put that into a little pot and stick it in the fridge, and I'll have that for a snack tomorrow. I'm not going to waste good food that's, just because it's been on their plate. It's not bad, it's not dirty, it's not, yes, if they've like chewed it and spat it out, I'm not going to eat that. But you're right, like, don't be throwing good food away.
Yeah. So okay, so let's move on. So again, for you, Joe, I'm just going to remind myself of what I had in mind to ask you. How do you keep yourself well as a mom? And I am mindful wellness is a broad word. There is physical wellness, there is spiritual wellness, there is emotional wellness, social wellness. So it's very broad. But I hope that you can sort of just keep it as simple as you can, but under
Mm-hmm.
the of wellness. How do you keep yourself well? What are the things you do or don't do?
Mm-hmm. So, okay, I'm a bit of a gym rat. So I like being in the gym. That's one of my happy places. So I'll be at the gym 6 days a week and I lift weights most of the time. So that's my happy place. That's how I keep not just my body fit and strong. Like, I want to be strong going into my menopause. I'm in perimenopause now. I want to have muscles on my bones, and I want to be strong and functionally fit for as long as possible. So that's the main thing that I do. It also keeps my mind clear. So if I for some reason, if I'm injured and I can't get to the gym or whatever happens, then I notice that my headspace isn't great. So that's the main thing, really. And also, just I do track what I eat. So I track my macronutrients and I know how much of each thing, like carbohydrates, protein, fiber. I will eat at least 30 grams of fiber a day. And fats. So I know how much I need to eat each day of each thing. So as far as possible, I try and kind of keep an eye on that. But also, I'm really mindful of not just what I put into my body, but what I put onto my body. So you said right at the beginning, Daisy, I am a tropic skincare kind of fanatic, I suppose. So the skincare products, the ingredients in those products are mostly organic. They're as natural as possible. They don't contain any ingredients that are going to disrupt my hormones or cause any problems. So yeah, I'm really mindful of that, and I use those on the children as well. And then even things like being mindful about the products that we use in the home. So the chemicals, things that we use to clean our bathroom or our kitchen. I use, bicarb of soda and, things that are not going to cause problems to us as far as we can. And then also, sleep. I make sure that I get enough sleep. So I'm in bed at 9:30 every night, lights out at 10, because my alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning. So I need to have enough sleep. Otherwise, I am good for nobody and I'm good for nothing. So yeah, there's that. What else do I do? Do you know what I started doing just before Christmas? I started leaving my mobile phone downstairs at night time to charge. So I don't take my mobile phone into my bedroom. And that has changed my life. Like, I cannot stress how much that has changed my life, because I've got an alarm clock that wakes me up now. The first thing I do when I wake up isn't to reach over and grab my phone and check my messages. I have to actually get out of bed, you know? So, yeah, one simple thing to do that has made a big difference. I don't mindlessly scroll at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, so that's been a big thing. I don't drink alcohol really. So if I want one every now and again, I might do. But generally speaking, I don't drink alcohol. And that's been a big thing as well. But yeah. And then the other thing really would be kind of social connectivity. So making sure that I am, you know, keeping in touch with my friends and checking in with people, and making sure that I go out for walks with my friends if I can, or even if I go for a walk on my own, picking up the phone and phoning a friend back in England and having a 45-minute chat with them. That just keeps me right and good in my head. And, you know, I said earlier, like, I'm very involved in our church, and that, you know, having that relationship with God, that is probably, you know, the top of my priorities. But yeah, overarching all of the things.
Oh, it's great. Rich stuff, good stuff. Yeah. Because I asked that wellness, I didn't want to simplify it because it's not meant to be simplified in a way that you kind of sleep well and don't drink water, or you drink so well and don't exercise. For some people, like, I've never been to the gym. I have when I was younger, and the sweaty, I was just like, this is not my. I'd rather have like the machines at home, but I do love exercising and I love audio.
Mm-hmm.
So what Joe said might not work for you in terms of going out there. You might not be able to create the time to go out, but there's no reason why anyone would not be active. I don't remember, my grandmother died at 90, and up until she died, she was still pretty active. And she never put any YouTube video to watch anyone exercising, but they were just really fit because it was less usage of like machines. She wasn't sitting by the computer. She was active. And so when someone says I can't exercise, well, can you be physically active then? And we all can if we choose to. So thanks for sharing all of that and not making it a food thing or
Mm-hmm.
a hydration thing. In the world of wellness out there, it's very disjointed, but in the reality of living your everyday life, it cannot be disjointed. So thank you for sharing all that. Shalom, in your final question for you, in your 14 years of being a mom, what advice would you give your younger self during the first 5 years? I'm hearing that sound again. Apologies, anyone listening. I know it's distracting, but let's just try and focus. So, I guess I'm asking you to reflect. What went well? What didn't go well? Advise yourself when you were in your first 5 years of marriage or motherhood, rather.
Yeah. For me, I think that self education is very important. I think that for me, by default, I'm the type of person that likes to find out the reasons why, like why um, I like to read the science of things or get to hear the science people talk about these things. My social media following bulk of that is doctors and people who and that research sector. I'm just hearing new findings. I find that intriguing, but what I've learned over the years is that everything really comes back, to one thing. And I'm just going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to read the scripture because I found the scripture again, and it's, for me, it summarized a lot of what we're seeking. And we think that what we need is something new, but what we're doing is not new. It's really, really reflecting and thinking back. And this was Jeremiah speaking to the Israelites, and it says that the Lord says, that's Jeremiah 6:16. It says, stand at the crossroads and look and ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it. And you'll find rest for your souls, but you said we will not walk in it. We sort of think that the things that we need to be well, or the things that we need to be a good mom, or to succeed, or to be happy, or to be healthy, is something that is yet to be discovered, or something that someone is still discovering. But no, just look at how your mother, your mother's mothers, how did they eat? How did they live? Right? There's a documentary, I think it's on Netflix or Prime, where they were exploring people who lived in blue zones, where people tend to live
Netflix, yeah.
over the age of 90. After 2 episodes, we came back to the same, thing. Good food, right? It's not, going restricting a certain category of food and saying, oh, I'm not against that, because I think that when your body's in trouble and needs rescuing, it might help to say, okay, I'm going to take this out of my diet just to help my body heal. But it's always hard to stay on that path forever. So it's really, really going back and reflecting and saying, how did my parents, how did they eat? How did they live? What is common across for all of us, if we look back, is that our folks are engaged with their communities, right? They're not isolated. They are not. They're either part of churches or communities, or it's a big family. They're in each other's businesses. They fight a lot, but they make up. They are at events together. Everybody knows what's happening to every cousin and auntie, even if they're abroad. Everybody's sharing, they're fighting, they're making up, they're sharing food, they're coming together for, different events. They're having those relationships, right? But somehow we see those, like, even for someone like me who's from Nigeria and similar countries, we are beginning to live, think that people were trying to set boundaries that are new. Oh, this person is in my business, that person is in my business, and all of that. So what would I tell my younger self? Don't overcomplicate things. Um, don't over don't push yourself too hard. And then don't just take everything that everybody's saying and say, okay, I must do that. So for me, like introducing cereal and going through all the steps, I already had the thing. I didn't need to add that one on top. Found out later that they found that a lot of this, the exact companies that I was purchasing these foods from, they found trace metals, heavy metals in the meals and all of that. And I'd given to my first three, right? I believe in God. I believe in, God's ability and our ability to heal. Actually, the body is powerful. No matter what it is, the body has the ability to heal from whatever it is. So for me, it is think about, we need to be reflective about the things that we buy and bring home and use. Is this natural? Does my body understand, what this is? It's not difficult, but it's, again, in the age that we live in, it can be challenging because we're bombarded with a lot of this stuff, especially even people that are trying to be healthy. There's a lot of highly, highly processed stuff that are healthy in quotes. They're just not natural. They're just not, your body just does not really understand how to use it. We need to trust our bodies. Just give your body the simple things that it needs to heal. And the other thing that I will tell myself is, which I'm learning now, many, many years into the game, is in looking after our kids and so fixated on, all the things that we need to do for family and everything, you really, really leave yourself behind. Like, it can be really hard to carry everything at once and pay attention to everything. So for me, I've dealt with different health issues because you're just not looking at yourself. You're not reflecting and saying, what am I doing for myself? Right. Since COVID, I've piled on, to some people, they might not think, oh, this person is, I don't look big, but I think about what in my mind should be my ideal weight. Right. Oh, okay, I'm not there. I've not had to switch on. I've not had to change in size. I've not increased in size, but I know that my body isn't the same, right? I'm still holding on to quite a bit that I probably would not have if I was working outside of the home. Then it means that I have to consciously take walks or do exercises and do that. So for me, it's not meant to be hard. God designed motherhood and it's not meant to be hard. And embrace help. Don't overcomplicate things. Keep to, the natural things. Yes, we can reach for convenience as we need. But for me, it's like keep it to think in terms of ratios, right? 80-20 rule. Like if you're doing pizza or whatever, days where you're ordering food and all of that, if I have to order food, must it be pizza all the time? Can I still find restaurants that would give me something close to what I would cook at home, that okay, we're still eating healthy meals still, or something close to health? I don't know the kind of oils or whatever has been used, but it's still food. It's still something that your body can recognize. So I guess that's what I would, and then take help. That's the last thing. To not feel as though someone is doing something outside. Not to feel not to feel as though you have to do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
If there is help, if someone is offering the help, please take it. Stress
Mhm.
is stress is terrible for us as women. Like it's really really terrible. So we should really really take help, or even ask for help when you can. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with not doing everything yourself. Nothing wrong. Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to stop you because of time. I want to wrap up in 5 minutes, but thank you so much. That's really rich stuff, telling your younger self. And I think a lot of younger women in their 20s or 30s who have younger children would appreciate all that you've said. And Joe, the same language, don't overcomplicate things. That's what we keep saying. Because when you look back, you think, why was I so stressed about this? The
Mhm.
kids
Mhm.
eventually it's better, and children. I remember telling someone in coaching, and she said, oh, my son does not eat. And when she showed me, I said, okay, give me an example of the portion he would eat. And I said, yeah, that's about the size of his tummy. And
Yeah.
it's okay, like, he doesn't need the portion you think he needs. So
Mhm.
sometimes we are the ones complicating it and thinking, oh, I need to top him up with biscuits because he didn't eat as much rice. But yeah, the amount of carbs in rice is a lot when he
Mm.
breaks down that carbs, and his body would even prefer, that natural potato and whatever. But you don't need to top up with biscuits because
Mm.
he didn't eat well. He ate well. So yeah, I'm not going to go too much, but I forgot I know I said that was the last question, but there were two things I think would be a good gift to give people, because you both are super organized on what you've said. Um, is how do you plan your meals? So I'm going to give you 1 minute each. Keep it 1 minute. How do you plan your weekly meals? Because I think that's would be such a good tip. People come to me for meal plans, and I'm always against meal plans until I know you properly. We spend time together. I know you're going to stick that meal plan probably on your fridge magnet. I've only had one client who followed that meal plan. One person. It's just, you pay and it's for fun. However, you might not necessarily have a timetable, but you do plan. It sounds to me like you're super
Mm.
organized, 'cause that's why you can homeschool, do be a project manager, and yet your kids are eating well. And then Joe as well, you're working full time as a sexual health nurse. You're a tropic skincare ambassador. You're very active in church. So there's a lot you're doing, but still your children eat well. I don't know if you use meal plans. If you do, let us know. However, so how do you plan your weekly or monthly meals if you do monthly?
Yeah, so batch cooking is key for me for my meals. So, like on a Sunday afternoon, I will cook my protein for the following couple of days, and I will make my breakfast so that I can grab a jar on a Monday morning of my breakfast, like a chia seed pudding or whatever it is that I've made. So I'll make two days worth and 2 days worth of lunches, and then the kids' lunches are always made the night before. And then on a Tuesday night, I'll make my Wednesday, Thursday, Friday breakfasts and lunches and put them in the fridge. So I just grab them in the mornings. So that's how I do mine. And then for dinners for the family, we've got a freezer in our garage, which is like our, we can put in things. If I find like a yellow stickered bit of meat or whatever from, discounted thing, then I'll stick it in the freezer. So I'll take a look in the freezer every week and see what's in there. What do I need to buy fresh that week for the grocery shop? And then I'll always do like some batch cooking. So I do plan meals to an extent. So I'll have it in my mind what I think I'll do. It's kind of flexible depending on what's happening. But yeah, that's generally what I do. I batch cook and then I make more of one meal. If I make, I don't know, a bolognese or a something, whatever, then I'll make sure that I've got enough then to put in the freezer, another portion for another day's meal. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you. Short and sweet. Bouquet, your
Yeah,
turn.
same thing. It's bulk cooking. I've got two freezers in my garage. So it's bulk cooking. Like I was saying, I think I'd mentioned that earlier. I bulk cook. I buy like quarter cow. I buy fish in boxes, buy chicken in boxes, everything bulk. So Saturdays in the morning, break stuff out of the freezer, cook soups and and things that we're gonna eat, jollof rice, whatever it is, right? And so shopping is just shopping for fresh stuff that I want to add to whatever I'm cooking. So usually like Saturdays or Sundays, depending on what is happening in the family during the weekend, is when I cook. And I find that when I don't do the bulk cooking on that weekend, something is happening. The week is usually very hard, like tough with food, because the kids have to eat. And that's usually when we end up ordering, food and all of that. But when the food is the fridge is packed with already cooked meals, it's a lot more easier for the kids to to take care of themselves, or for us to just get there and warm food. I still cook during the week, sometimes dinners. I don't cook every single thing on weekends. There's still things I cook, but I reduced the amount of things I have to cook from scratch. That's what I would say. So to keep your meals, to keep your family eating healthy, you have to plan ahead. And I don't know that there's a way around bulk cooking. If you're working, I don't think you can cook um, 3 times a day, every day. You're going to pass out at some point. So yeah, so that's
Yeah,
it.
great. Thank you so much, ladies. I want to keep to time. I want to finish like 1 hour, 20 minutes max. So there's so much I'd have loved to ask, so much I'd have loved to talk about, but I know I cannot because of time. And I really thank you for giving me this time. I know, Joe, you've got a meeting after this or something. So yeah, and then Shalom, obviously you both use your weekends, including me, to plan for the week. So thank you so much for giving me this 1 hour plus of your time. I really appreciate it. And for everyone listening, please, I would say, don't try your best. We say be open-minded, but try your best not to listen with, oh, they are just who they are. If possible, try to consider everything that's been said, because I chose these two ladies because you guys are as natural as possible, and that's what I'm promoting. Just as simple as possible. Eat what God has given you to eat. Stay active. Look after yourself. Look after your children. It's not complicated. And so, thank you for. I'm hearing that sound again. It's so annoying. Thank you for doing so well and sharing your stories. Every one of us who has listened today, I've been so enriched by this conversation, and I hope that I can bring you out of your shell maybe one more time at some point, if you would let me. But thank you so much, and yeah, I will see you again.